And with the 6th pick in the 2023 NHL Draft, the Arizona Coyotes have taken defenseman Dmitri Simashev of Russia. Gil Martin here alongside our prospects expert Hadi Kalakeche. And we're joined now by Robyn Leano of Locked On Coyotes to break down every angle of this selection. And Robyn, were you surprised that the Coyotes went with a defenseman at this point in the draft?
So, no, I'm not surprised they went with defenseman. I was questioning whether or not they make a defenseman pick at 6, because I mentioned it on the Coyotes show multiple times. The Coyotes really needed a defenseman in their prospect pool and just their overall roster. They are the most lacking in defensemen. So I was like, okay, a defenseman that's where they need it the most. I don't know if I would have made this specific pick but especially at 6. But it's an interest. It certainly is an interesting one, and I'm not mad.
Hadi, where did you have Simashev ranked?
Well, Simashev was my top-ranked defenseman, and I had him 8th overall. I think that Dmitri Simashev is what people think David Reinbacher is. In terms of the skating ability, he's up there with the best in the draft. Defensively, he's the best defensive rush defender for sure in the draft. And he's got that untapped offensive upside that really makes you wonder what a player with this, a 6'4", 200-pound player who can skate the way he does, who can defend the way he does, what he could do with just a bit more offensive refinement. Because there are some flashes of some really interesting plays, just a little give and goes he plays from the high slot. The inside out moves. So I've seen him break some ankles this year. I mean, he's been really promising in terms of the flashes of offense that you've seen from him this year. So I think this is a great pick at 6 overall. I mean, we all knew that if Reinbach was there at 6, Arizona was jumping on that bandwagon. But Simashev is not a consolation prize, in my opinion. Simashev is a better player. So I think that the Arizona Coyotes kind of, the Habs loss is their win in a way. They see him as a consolation prize, but it'll be very, very soon that you'll realize that Simashev is actually the best defenseman out of this class.
And Hadi, how long until he comes to North America?
Oh, it'll be a while. I think you might wait until he's maybe 22, 23, 24. But once he comes over, man, he's going to have refined his game a lot. A player like him usually gets a lot of ice time in the KHL. I'm thinking of a guy like Shakir Mohammedullin from a couple years ago, who right now is playing maybe 22, 23, 24 minutes of ice time in the KHL and in his draft plus 3, draft plus 4. By that time, that's the amount of time we'll see Simashev play. And that's tantamount when it comes to prospects, is how much do you get in terms of ice time, especially in Russia. So I think Simashev is going to be very quick to get some really good minutes in the KHL, and that'll prep him really well for when he comes over to North America and plays full-time.
Robyn, what is next for the Coyotes? You mentioned defense was the biggest concern. Is it still after this pick, or are they looking for another position next to fortify?
I feel like next is whatever is next best available at that point. If it's a forward, then pick a forward. If there's still if a defense player is still top next, I mean, I don't know if I make the pick, but I feel like that's probably where they end up going. Whatever's just next best available.
And overall, you think this was a solid pick for the Coyotes? You happy with it, or a little disappointed?
No, I'm certainly happy with it. Yeah, I do. And again, the Coyotes really needed a defenseman. I actually had the Coyotes pick Simashev at 12 in our own mock draft. So I kind of saw that. I'm like, I knew he was going to be a good defenseman, and I was like, okay, 12, I'm happy with that. 6, I was like, was just a shocker. But I'm like, either way, they still got the guy I wanted.
All right. Well, for more on this selection and all of the Coyotes' other moves around the draft and free agency, tune in to Locked On Coyotes for free on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.